My name is Neil Wattier. I am a 25-year Air Force veteran. I got about 2 more years till I retire, so I'm still active. Work at United States Strategic Command. I'm the resilience coordinator. I teach mental performance, resilience, all those things that he was talking about. A little louder. So with that, I wanted to first of all preempt that with thank you very much for coming out. I know you're not here for me, I'm here for you. And coming out in cold weather, Andy and I were talking ahead of time, I better be good because you're out here in cold weather to learn something. So my guarantee for you, similar to the workshops that I do out at the base is, my guarantee is you're going to walk out with 1 or 2 skills you're going to be able to immediately implement in your life that is meaningful and relevant to you. So not only for business, for money, but also your personal well-being. A couple things. I've got the workbooks in front of you that we will be going through. We'll be doing some activities. I will not call on anyone. I'm not here to embarrass anyone, but I am looking for interaction. I want to hear what you have to think, what you think about the subjects we're talking about, because as we go through we go through the workbook and we go through the cycle, I want it to be relevant to you. So I want to hear what's important to you and why this matters. And we'll explain some of those things. These are some things I want to know. What motivates you? How do you motivate other people? And the things that are on your bucket list. What are the kind of things that you would like to achieve? Personal, professional, financial, relationships. And then values are really, really important. We're going to be talking a lot about values tonight. Before we go into, I don't want to just jump straight into goal achievement, because there's a lot that goes to it. When you think about setting goals and achieving goals, what are the challenges that you face? Sorry? Realistic? Make sure that they're realistic and you can achieve them? Okay. What else?
Measurable.
Measurable? Okay, so we're talking about the SMART goals, right? Okay, specific, measurable, achievable, time-based. Self-doubt, right? Doubting yourself,
Yeah.
maybe even before you get started.
Yeah.
Okay, sir?
I was just say creating an action plan and finding support.
Support is a really important one. Yeah? Who are the people that are going to support you, and who are the kind of people that are going to doubt you and hold you back?
Unforeseen obstacles.
Unforeseen obstacles. Yeah, what you might, so you need to know what is it that you might, what are some of the known obstacles that you might run into? And then how are you going to deal with the ones that are unforeseen? And how are you going to manage through those? Because that's really important. One of the things that I teach out at the base is called the ATC model. And the reason why this is important is the ATC model talks about actions, thoughts, and consequences. And the foundation of resilience that I teach, and so 10 seconds or less, is your thoughts drive your emotions and your physical reactions. If you control your thoughts, you have productive emotions and physical reactions. And I'm sure we can put that model into just about any scenario in our life, from finances, personal, professional, relationships, recreational pursuits, whatever it is that means to you. And the important thing to remember about this is every thought that you have has an emotional and a physical reaction. You might not recognize it. It might be insignificant, but every thought that you have has an emotional and a physical reaction. Now, why is that important to you? You're investors. You want to make smart decisions with your money. I'm not asking you to take emotion out of it. I'm asking you to slow down the process and make sure that it's driving appropriately. Thoughts drive emotions and not the other way around. There's nothing wrong with being emotional. In fact, we're going to do a little drill here pretty soon to discuss emotions and why they're so important. This is a self-awareness tool, the ATC model. When we get into the goal setting model, that's a self-regulation tool. But the important thing is, doing it this way, you can't regulate until you're aware. You have influencers, you have beliefs, you have a belief system. Something drives your thoughts, and if you're not aware of what that is, if you're not aware of your influencers, they will continue to influence you. You're just not going to realize it. You're not going to know why you make the decisions that you make. So that's why this is so important. So right away, we're gonna do an activity. So what I've got is some large sheets of paper, the large Post-its. So what I want you to do is I want you to find the closest one, which might be right behind you. Okay. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. And with your group, I want you're going to draw a line down the middle. And you with your group, you're going to try to come up with as many emotions, names for emotions. Okay? You're going to put the negative emotions on the left side, and you're going to put the positive emotions on the right side. You got 3 minutes. Go. All right, finish up the one that you're working on. Okay. We'll repeat it. I'll do that. You betcha. Thank you. Okay.
Did better than I thought it would be. Somebody else would
So what do you think? What'd you learn?
It's harder to come up with positive emotions than negatives.
Really? Okay. I heard that a couple times. What was the comment over here? Man, we got a whole bunch of negative. We got to come up with a balance it out a little bit, right? Okay. So that's sorry. Go ahead.
Negatives were identified first, I think, and then thought of getting some positives in there, but
Yeah.
negative ones were easier to think of.
Okay. So we had the idea of it's easier to come up with negative emotions than positive emotions, and the negative emotions were coming out first and repeatedly and quickly. Okay. What else?
Some could be either, like anxious.
Okay. So some could be either. Okay. And you got one like written on the line. Yeah.
That was like in the middle.
Right, wrote that one right in the middle. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes it's a little difficult to figure out where it belongs. What else? Any interesting insights? Well, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. One of them is the negativity, right? That's actually a common human trait. It's called the negativity bias. We have a tendency to look for the negative as a defense mechanism, and that goes all the way back to prehistoric times. It's a safety mechanism. But if you really think about it, what do we have to worry about today? I mean, we think about the last couple days, all right? Aside from some extreme examples, how many of us have real danger that we deal with other than maybe look left and right so you don't get hit by a car, right? So there's a lot. We still have the tendency to look for negative, even though that's not necessarily a productive habit. The other thing is, let's look at, let me see what you got. So you've got, there you go, thank you. So you got, what's the difference between contentment and satisfaction?
Sometimes satisfaction is very short-lived.
Satisfaction's short-lived?
Yeah.
Okay.
Contentment's just accepting whatever you're content no matter whether you're rich, poor, good, bad. You're okay. Content with your situation.
Okay, so content being happy with your circumstances?
No, you don't have to be happy.
Don't have to be happy?
No.
Just satisfied?
You accept.
You accept.
it.
Okay, you accept your situation.
It might be a very sad situation, but
Okay. Okay.
And that could be a negative emotion too.
Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to give a microphone to whoever's speaking because it's the rest of the room's not
Okay.
can't hear them. So
Yeah, I'm trying to repeat as much as we can, but I want to make sure everybody hears because this is an important conversation. So I want to cut to, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's important. I want to get your feedback. So a couple things I want to point out. So we already talked about the negativity bias. We have a tendency to look for negative. It's easier. They just tend to come out a lot faster. The other thing is the variety. Have you ever seen the big poster? And I know it's meant for kids, but I love it, with all the faces with the names of the different emotions, right? So you can kind of identify if this emotion means this face, right? We have such a variety of emotions because different feelings feel different to different people. We all feel things differently. We could say pride, and there's going to be 50 or so explanations of what that means to feel pride. And the idea that was brought up earlier is, well, do we put that on the positive or negatives? Because I can think of situations where pride would be a good thing and pride would be a bad thing. So we talk about positive emotion as the sense of happy, optimism, feel good, self-talk, positive self-talk. I want to put that conversation aside for a second. And I want you to think of the list of emotions that are in front of you, don't think of emotions as positive and negative. Think of them as productive and counterproductive. Because can you think of a time where anger might result in a positive outcome? It might be beneficial to you. But our first reaction is to say, well, anger's bad. But it's not. It depends on the outcome that you're trying to strive for. When you talk to somebody and they're selling their house and they're very emotional because their attachment to that, they have a long attachment to it. That was my grandmother's house, right? You have to recognize and understand the emotional intelligence of not only your emotions, but their emotions as well. That's a lot of emotion in one conversation that you have to deal with and you have to work through. And that's the power of this model. So then that conversation that I asked you to set aside now, talking about positive emotions as far as things that, happiness and emotion and optimism. Positive emotions, working against that negativity bias, gives us increased creative thinking, which is important when you're trying to come up with a creative solution that benefits all parties. So that's important. Psychological effects or physiological effects. It undoes the negative emotion, and they're contagious, and it helps build resilience. So this is the ATC model. And again, I'm going to fly through this because I do 1.5 to 2 hour workshops on this thing alone, but it's very, very important when you talk about making logical or emotional decisions to understand how this works. And I'm just going to go ahead and pop this all up together. So the model looks like this. An event happens in your life. It could be a trigger, could be a difficulty, a stressor, could also be a positive event, because positive events are still stressful. Having a baby, moving, investing $1 million, whatever that means to you, positive events are still stressful. So any kind of activating event. Then you have thoughts associated with that. And this is the important thing. Your thoughts drive your emotions and your physical reactions. So when an event happens and it causes some type of anxiety or anger or resentment or guilt or whatever it is that you feel, the event did not cause those emotions. If you get into an argument and you feel your muscles tensing and your heart racing, the event does not cause that. Your self-talk is causing that. You have control over your thoughts, and your productive thoughts drive productive emotions and physical reactions. So when you want to be calm and in control, you have to have positive self-talk. You have to control your thoughts to have those emotions. And you have two scenarios. So you have in the moment, an event happens, and suddenly I'm reacting to it. Because really think about it. We like to think that we're in control and we make active decisions. Most of the decisions we make in our life are actually reactions to something, because life is busy. Life is chaotic. We make a lot of reactions more than we make a lot of choices. It's in the details, but it matters. The other thing is event preparation. So think of like sports psychology. You're getting ready to go into an event, pregame. What do athletes tend to do? What do you think of when you think of an athlete pregame? Music? What else? Sorry? Warm up? Yep. Stretching?
Any kind of stress management.
Stress management, right? Getting ready for whatever that event is. And I just use athletes because that's an easy one to imagine. But you could be talking about a chess match. You could be talking about a board meeting. You could be talking about going and having a difficult conversation where you and this person don't get along, right? It's pregame. So let's talk about that for a second. So let's say you have a fight with somebody that you care about. And suddenly, the first thought in your mind is, they never listen to what I have to say. What kind of emotions does that thought drive? Anger. Frustration. Resentment. Reservation. Depends on the person, depends on the situation, right? Depends on the day you're having. But yeah, frustration, irritated, angry. What kind of physical responses do you have to those emotions? What kind of physical reaction do you have to being angry because they never listen to what you have to say? Tense, muscles are tense. Adrenaline, heart racing. Crying, possibly, right? Some people talk about defeated. Just go away. That's not that important, or whatever. I give up, right? Because that works every time. Okay, so let's talk about event preparation. So you imagine like sports psychology, getting ready for an event. So you're preparing for a test. We've all taken a test, but imagine a significant one where your job depends on it, like medical, law, IT. My job depends on this. And you're walking into the room and you start feeling anxious and your heart's racing. What kind of thoughts are you having that are driving anxious and an elevated heart rate? I'm going to fail. I am not ready. And this is the interesting thing. If you're not careful, if you don't understand that your thoughts drive emotions, the emotions and the physical reactions that you have end up becoming the new trigger. So now you've got somebody who says, oh, I'm preparing for a test. I'm not ready for this test. I'm feeling anxious. I've got an elevated heart rate, quick shallow breaths. Suddenly that anxious feeling and that increased heart rate becomes the new trigger. And now I'm thinking, man, my job depends on this. Now I'm freaked out. Now my physical reaction is, I can't think. I can't remember the stuff that I know. If you're not in control, this is where people get emotionally out of control. But instead, if you stop, you understand, you know what, I feel anxious and my heart's racing. And you take a breath and you go to where your control is, your thoughts. So you get caught, you're feeling anxious. What is it, a thought that you can have that would drive productive emotions and physical reactions? What's a thought that you can have? Positive self-talk. What's that? Yeah, I'm going to pass this. Positive self-talk. I'm going to pass this. What else?
Seeing yourself passing.
Mm-hmm. Seeing yourself, done. Score, passing score, done.
I worked hard for this.
Yeah, I studied 15 minutes every day for 30 days because that's what I'm supposed to do, and I know this stuff. Do you know what first responders are taught when they arrive on a scene? What's the first thing that a first responder is supposed to do? Assess the scene. Why?
So they can get a clear sight picture of what's going on.
Okay. So they get a clear picture of what's going on in the scene. Also, they get a clear picture of what they're doing to make sure that they're under control. Because if I'm a first responder and I run in headlong into a scene and my heart's racing and I'm not thinking clear, I'm no good to my team and the people I'm trying to save. So imagine that. A first responder comes upon a scene and the first thing they're taught is to take a deep breath. So my question, to me and to all of you is, what do you experience that you can't take a second and take a deep breath? Everybody do that real quick. Throw your shoulders back, take a deep breath. And then exhale. Feels pretty good. That simple exercise is the most powerful thing that you can do short term because it clears your head, relaxes your body. My muscles are now calm. I can think. And where did we say? Where's your control? It's your thoughts. If I can't think, how can I control the situation? I have to be under control. I have to control my thoughts, so therefore I need to take a deep breath and make sure that my emotions are not driving my thoughts, that my thoughts are driving my emotions. Shoulds. How many of you ever thought, wow, that shouldn't have happened? Or it should have happened this way? That's very dangerous to get yourself because that's where that shouldn't have happened, but it did. Well, it shouldn't have. It should have happened this way, and then you get into this. And not by any, research. This is just my experience. The most successful people I know, something happens, they take a breath and they say, that happened, now what? I'm not asking to remove emotion. I'm asking you to make sure that emotion is being controlled. You have control over your thoughts. And that's why it's so important that I bring this up to you, because you can't regulate until you're aware. You have to understand this is happening, how it's happening, and how you can control it. Because you talk about things like goal achievement and going out and relationships and connection and networking and making important decisions, you have to be aware of this. You can't regulate until you're aware of your thoughts, your behaviors. Why do you think the way you think? Why do you act the way that you act? This is where you're going to make those important decisions. So we talked about goal achievement. Okay? This is the easy part. So Goal achievement, behavior modification, and accountability. Because you're trying to do something you've never done before. You have to plan to achieve something. You've never done it before. You have to change your behaviors, you have to change your thoughts, and you have to be accountable to where you're going. So you're heading out on a road trip and you see this sign. What do you think? Yeah. Get the heck out of this place. This is no good to me. You know, and it's not even the sign. You see the background, right? I'm just going to go, right? How many times do you feel that way? You're like, I'm just going to go this way, all right? Because that's the best I've got. So that's why it's important to have, and you notice that when I talk about goals, I don't talk about goal setting, because that's just one step in the process. Anybody can set goals. The worst time in the world to go to the gym is right after New Year's, all right? That fades about mid-February. Yeah, usually get rid of all the suckers and then you can go back to getting work done, right? Because people don't come up with a plan. They're like, yep, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going that way. You know, I talked with some high schoolers the other day. And I was like, how do I get to Chicago? And they're like, go east. All right. Not going to get me to Chicago, but I'm going to have a fun trip. All right? So let's get into that. So what motivates you? What are you motivated by? Money? Okay. Okay, be honest. There's no judgment here.
I think someone said food.
Food? Okay. Yeah, I love Pizza Friday.
I'm gonna say achievement.
Achievement? Okay. Personal achievement? Freedom? Okay. What else? Relationships? Okay. Give me one more. Independence. Happiness. Okay. Whatever that means to you. Okay. How do you motivate others?
Find out what it is that they need or want.
Find out what they need or they want. Okay. Communication. Okay. Inspire them. Okay. Huh? Build relationships because you got to know who they are, what they want. Okay.
What they could become.
Say that again.
Let them know what they could become.
Yeah. Help them with a vision. Okay. Empower them. That's a good one. Okay. So I'm gonna try this. We'll see if it works. I don't know if it's actually gonna work. Maybe. Really? Anybody seen this scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? It's the Bobs.
The Bobs.
Damn. Nah, sorry, it's not gonna work. All right. So sorry. It's really funny if you haven't seen it, by the way. Okay, so let's talk about sources of motivation. What's intrinsic motivation? Internal? Close. Sorry? Built in? Okay. Right there. You're right there. Intrinsic motivation is doing the task because you love the task itself. Because you love to do it. That's it. You know anybody in here a runner? Okay. I used to be that person, by the way. I'm a recovering addict. I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go run 10 miles. It's absolutely ludicrous, right? I can't imagine doing that anymore. Like I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning and go to the gym because I know, again, going back to self-awareness, if I don't go before noon, I'm not going. And there's sometimes I'll hit that clock. I'm like, I'm not motivated today. I'm done. No. But intrinsic motivation is being motivated by the task itself. I love to do it. And this is where we are getting just skirting the edges. You got internal and instrumental motivation. What's instrumental motivation?
Something you have to do.
Okay. Something you have to do, something that gets you where you're going. You're right there. Some you get paid to do. Okay. Yeah.
There's some sort of return that you get, something you get as a result of doing the thing that becomes the motivator.
A result of you like the result. You're close. So it's motivation from the outside. It's somebody else or something else that's motivating you. Carrots and sticks, right? If you don't do this, I'm going to beat your butt. Or if you do it, you get this, right? Parents, right? Kids, you will do this or I'm going to I'm going to end you, right? Internal is the idea of it motivates me because I like the outcome, right? I go to the gym at 5:30 because I like what I get out of it. I don't get up at 5:30. If I got a day off, I'm not getting up at 5:30. I didn't get up till 8 o'clock today. So yeah, so your instrumental is your rewards and punishments and shame and guilt. So going back to that emotion thing we talked about, what's the difference between shame and guilt? Internal and external? You're right there. Really close. Guilt is the judgment on the action. I feel guilty because I didn't follow through with something I said I was going to do. Shame is judgment on character. You should be ashamed of yourself. Right? So it's very, very important when we talk about motivation, and when I don't hit that, you know, when I do hit the snooze button or I end up turning off the alarm, I got to be very careful about my self-talk. That guilt doesn't turn into shame. Guilt and shame are very, very powerful, but as a short-term motivator. You're not going to get long-term out of people. You're not going to get long-term out of you. So you got to be careful with that. Internal motivation, it's your self-identity. So I used to identify as a runner, you know, and I don't want anybody raising hands, but I do work with people as far as like behavior modification, goal achievement. One thing is quitting smoking. The hardest thing when it comes to helping people quitting smoking is when they identify as a smoker. I want to quit smoking. Really? Are you a smoker? Yes, I am a smoker. Right? It's a self-identity. They identify as a smoker, so therefore it's harder for them to break that habit because it's part of who they are. It's difficult to break that. So you have to change the mindset first. Then you can start working on behavior modification. Or value. You value the behavior. I love doing this because I like the outcome. And it's important to understand internal motivation because this is where you're going to get all the benefits from it. So there's a couple of them I want to point out. Number one is the feeling of being in flow. What does that mean?
It's when you lose track of time because you're so into whatever you're doing.
You're so into what you're doing, you lose track of time. Yeah. Anybody ever cleaning the house for 2 hours? You're like, wow, where'd the time go? No, that doesn't happen. But you know, you're driving along and you know, you get that zoned out, or you know, I don't remember what happened in the last 2 hours, and suddenly I'm in, you know, middle of Nebraska, you know, or exercise or something like that. Yes?
I was thinking it probably feels like everything's going your way.
Yep.
Concept.
Everything's clicking. All the cylinders are hitting. You're doing what you love to do. It feels good. Time's flying by, and I'm getting so much done. That's flow. And that's important because you want to feel that. That's part of internal motivation. And then what about the last one? Autonomy. Why is that so important? What is autonomy?
Choosing for yourself, the ability to have the choices.
Making the choice yourself and being in control. Right. So why is that so important in this conversation?
You can control the emotions to control the actions. You need to have that to know that you can, and then as you said, identify as the person in control. Identify as the one who can do it. So I have to have that autonomy.
Good. Thank you. So he's talking about, I make the choice, so therefore I'm more motivated because it's my choice. I'm deciding to do this. Yeah, control your destiny, locus of control, all those things. I'm more motivated if I have some say in this thing. Right? Values are extremely important. As soon as we have this conversation, we're going to start hitting into those steps, and then we're getting into the meat of this. But values are very, very important. This is where a lot of people miss on goal achievement. Who can tell me one value that they hold dear to themselves? How do you make decisions? How do you, when things are difficult, how do you make decisions? How do you make your daily life choices? What are your values?
Honesty.
Say again?
Honesty.
Honesty? Okay.
Integrity.
Integrity? It's interesting. It's kind of like you know, either you don't want to talk, or in some situations people just don't understand. Sir?
I don't know if it's value, but fortitude.
Fortitude?
Not quit or give up, because it's the easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so persistence, fortitude, right, sir? Family. Yep, I value my family, right? Work-life balance is important to me, right? It's important to understand what your values are, because if you start heading into some type of goal achievement, goal setting situation, and you don't understand your values, how do you know the decisions that you should be making and the goals that you should be setting? You could be setting goals that are completely contrary to what you want to achieve. You need to understand, you need to be self-aware of what you value, because then you're going to take those values and you're going to use those as part of your internal motivation to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, and we talk about, you know, it seems, you know, for some people, it seems off-putting or callous to say, well, I value money. Well, what's wrong with that? Money's a tool. Now, when you talk about things like money and social media and pride and attention, these things aren't bad, naturally bad. It's just like emotions. The only thing bad is how you use them. Money is a tool. It doesn't define you, it exposes you. So you need to know who you are before you start making your decisions. And if you can tie your values to your achievement that you want to make, it's now going to be part of your self-identity. So we talk about your bucket list. There's a place in there. Start writing things down. What do you want to achieve? Small and large. And I used to teach this as something like dream goals, something that you're way out there. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and they're like, really? Some people have difficulty just staying on a healthy diet or going to the gym regularly. It doesn't always have to be a huge goal. Sometimes it's just minute performance improvements. Whatever, and that's why self-awareness is so important. You need to know what your tolerances are. So what are the things that you've always wanted to achieve? Just start jotting those down. What do you want to achieve? What do you always want to do? Oops, hang on. Getting ahead of myself. And then goal achievement. Activate, direct, adjust, and sustain behavior. We're talking about behavior modification and reinforcement. Keep doing the good things, change the things that are counterproductive. And before I get too far behind, I'm just going to throw this out there. So this is what the 7 steps look like. And before you even hit the 5th one, the first 4, you haven't even done anything yet. This is all just planning. So step 1, define. That's your end state. That's your vision. What do you want to achieve? Step 2, understand your current situation, your behaviors, your obstacles, your known obstacles. And I'm going to go through this pretty quick, and if we have time for Q&A and you want to continue on, we can have this conversation. I just don't want to keep here and I don't want to talk just to talk. So understand your current situation. Step 3, determine your specific development needs. What do you need to do? These are your large priority areas. You know, for somebody who, physical fitness, I want to run a half Ironman. Well, I should be concerned about nutrition, fitness, my attitude, and my work-life balance. I'm talking big priority areas. What are the things you really need to be concerned about? Lay out your plan for continuous progress. We talked about SMART goals earlier. There's also going to be, what's the self-talk you need? What are those power statements you need? And I tell people, get fun with these things. Get corny, so when you see it on the wall, add some humor to it. Then you're going to head into your action statements. What's important now? The next 24 hours, what can you do to work towards your goal so you can feel some accomplishment? I want to save $1 million. Really? Okay. Well, tomorrow I'm going to put $10 in the bank. Step in the right direction. What are the little things that you can do to give yourself small wins? Maintain your motivation, and then schedule periodic reviews, inputs. And this is something where you're going to be very specific. If I want to climb a mountain, I'm probably going to review every 30 days. I want to look and make sure that I'm on track. And, power of social media, I'm going to send it to all my friends. Because I know my friends, and if I say, hey, in 30 days, I need you to check up on me, they're going to be blasting me, telling me you didn't do what you said you were going to do. So who are the people that are going to be on your side? Who's your benefactors? Likewise, who are the people that are holding you back? Because what you need to do is set healthy boundaries. If there's somebody holding you back, you need to be accountable by holding them accountable and letting them know that's not okay. Whatever that means to you. Accountability. The workshop walks you through those steps. But first, I don't want to go into a lot of detail because we can have these conversations. I'll be here after. We can talk more about it. But I want to get your opinion. So I've been talking for a long time, and I love talk. I'll talk all night. But I want to hear, so we talked about thoughts drive emotions and physical reactions, and then we talked about goal achievement. How do you achieve your goal? What are you thinking? What questions do you have? How is this relevant to your life? Anybody brave? Sir?
Do some goals in our insurance agency. So unless we post it on the board, we don't really see it. So a goal that's kind of buried, is not visible, it's not good. Should review periodically, weekly.
So your office has goals that you post on the wall as like office or business goals?
Yes.
Okay. And the question is?
Well, I don't know if you agree with this, but if you don't see it visibly, it's not important.
If you don't see it, I think there's power in visibility. In fact, if you look at the, sorry, I'm going to steal this real quick. If you look at page 6, sorry, 9, I was upside down. That's actually 9. That's a visibility tool for you, because what you're going to do is you're going to take all those first 4 steps and you're going to put it in that little handy, and I'll even show you one that I worked on somebody with, right there. That's not them. They took a picture of somewhere from somebody crossing the finish line of a half Ironman. That helps them to visualize what they might look like crossing that line. I think visualization is extremely important. Because there's some people that say, well, you know, really, if you got to put the word, I don't know, if you got to put honesty on your wall at work to remind people to be honest, then maybe you got a bigger problem. I understand the point. However, visualization is extremely important. Because if people continuously walk by the word honest, they've done psychological tests that people are more likely to remember honesty. That's why Air Force, all the military branches have core values. I know I'm not supposed to steal. I know I'm supposed to be a good teammate. I know I'm supposed to be honest, right? So why does the Air Force talk about integrity first? Because they want a constant reminder in everything that we do that integrity matters. Visualization is very, very important. So if you put your goals up there, as long as they're discussed, people agree on them, I think there's a lot of power in that. Absolutely. Especially if there's continued review. Is this one still important? Okay, maybe not. Or maybe there's a different way to say it. I'm very big on visualization, self-talk. Thank you. Any other questions? Sir?
We'll give you a mic, sir.
Just want to make sure everybody can hear.
I was wondering how to resist negative thoughts. Like at the beginning of the exercise, those things came in more easily than the happy or good thoughts. And you say we can control our thoughts, but I'm stuck between receiving and controlling. Like somehow we receive input based on whatever we're doing that day, visualization, things happen. A lot of times it feels like maybe I'm not in control of those thoughts, so how do you get from, or can you even block negative thoughts entirely?
I wouldn't say entirely, but there's the thing I love about resilience and mental performance is resilience is not a trait. It's like leadership. Leadership's not a skill. Leadership is a set of skills that you apply to be a better leader. Resilience is a set of skills that helps you grow and thrive through stress and adversity and propel your mental performance from good to great. And what's the good thing about skills? I can learn them. I can get better at them. However, you have to practice them intentionally. Because we can sit here and talk about push-ups all day long, but until you get on your face and push the ground, it's no good to you, right? So for that one in particular, I'll make this short. We call it the gratitude challenge. In the Army, they call it hunt the good stuff, right? So it fights the negativity bias. For 30 days, and I challenge you to do this, for 30 days, I want you to, at whatever time works for you, I do it in the morning, usually when I get to work, because that's a time where I can kind of take a breath before I hit the day, right? So at my desk, I'll take a little sticky note or a piece of paper, whatever I got handy. And I want you to write down 3 things, 3 good things from the last 24 hours. and it has to be recent, 24 hours, not last week. Three good things from the past 24 hours. And then you're going to reflect on those, because the power is in reflection. You're going to ask yourself a set of questions. What this good thing meant to me? Who was involved with this good thing that made it happen? How did I contribute to this good thing happening, and how can I make more of this good thing happen tomorrow? And by doing that, you're training your brain to look for the positive instead of the negative. And all the studies from University of Pennsylvania, where a lot of this stuff comes from, their positive psychology department, has shown if you do it, you actually have to do this, the practice though, just like push-ups. You have to do it every day. If you do it, you train your brain to look for the positive instead of the negative. This skill is so powerful, in fact, that not only does it retrain your brain, it physically changes your brain. It physically changes your brain. It's so powerful. So similar to taking a breath as a very, very effective tool, gratitude, chasing gratitude, is the simplest and most effective skill that you can employ to change your perspective on life and improve your optimism and your positivity. Because really, 5 minutes a day for 30 days. Try it.
What was the third thing you said? There were 3 things, write down who, what, where.
Oh, okay. So what this good thing means to you. What did you do to contribute to this good thing? What did other people do to contribute to this good thing? And how can you encourage more of this good thing to happen tomorrow? And at any time you want follow-up on any of this stuff, my contact information is inside this workbook. Feel free to contact me, my phone, email, follow me on social media. I'm very active on social media. You're very welcome to follow up, ask questions. Be happy to have a conversation with you. No obligation. I'm not going to ask for your email. I'm not going to ask for your money. So I want to close this up real quick, but I want to give you an opportunity. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Negative feedback also. I've had conversations with people like, I think this is horrible. Okay, thanks. Sir.
I have a question about grit.
Okay.
Some people say it could be positive, could be negative. Sometimes you need grit in order to keep going when it gets tough. But on the other hand, sometimes grit can keep you pursuing a goal even when that goal no longer makes sense for you. So how do you, maybe I'm looking for wisdom in this matter.
Okay. So we're looking for, how do I know I'm not excessively pursuing something that is either counterproductive or no longer valid? Okay, so first of all, if you look through the steps of the goal achievement, you have reviews. Periodically review your goals, your values. Make sure that what you're pursuing is still valuable, is still valid. You know, back to when I was a runner, and when I decided I wasn't a runner anymore was the time I was 3 weeks into a 12-week marathon running program. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and I said, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore. Because I value fitness, but I have no interest in running 26 miles. I was doing it because I ran a 10K. So what do you do as a runner? The next thing, you run a half marathon, and then you run a marathon. That's stupid. I mean, that was my thought. Like, if you want to do it, then good. I mean, you value that. I have no interest in running 26 miles. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So I stopped, I've never done it. But I had to have that moment of realization to review and say, do I really value this? No, I have no interest in doing this. So I put my effort into other things that mattered. So just, be honest with yourself. But then the other thing is, I talk a lot about optimism and positive self-talk. So I want to clarify optimism, realistic optimism. Because you could put your head in the sand and just pursue because, hey, good feelings, there's a bunch of bad stuff over here, but we're just going to be over here being happy. That doesn't work, right? Realistic optimism. Balancing between high optimism and pessimism. Right? You need to be realistic. Realistic optimism is what I'm going for. All right? Be aware of the negatives out there. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't let them drive you. All right? Same thing. Don't let all the good things drive you. Hope You know, the hope doesn't float or something like that. Everybody's still got to have hope, right? Just understand. So do those periodic reviews. And one of the most important things about resilience is community. So find who are the people closest to you? Who are your cheerleaders? Who are the people that really believe in you? Likewise, who are the people that really bring you down? Who are the people who are like, really? You're going to do that? Well, yeah, I want to do that. Really? You got to be aware of that. And keep those people at arm's length. But understand where's the benefit here. It's you, but understand who's on your side, who's on your team. Relationships matter in resilience. Any other questions? Thoughts?
And
I'm gonna
a lot of them.
A lot?
I want to know what if those bomber people are the ones that are your family?
The family?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if the bummers are your family? Yeah, you know, that's part of grit, that's part of resilience, is understanding that sometimes you can push them at arm's length and sometimes you can't. But it's the awareness of setting healthy boundaries as appropriate and do the best you can. You know, I mean, there's a long conversation we can have about that. And the resilience program that I teach, I actually have a list of 14 skills that I teach. The most important ones are gratitude, the ATC model, thoughts, drive, emotions, and goal achievement. Because that's where people, if you get those 3 down, the rest of them, you're going to do pretty good. But if you jump to the other ones without getting some of the thoughts, drive, emotions, basic stuff, it's hard to put things in perspective when you're running out of, you're doing a downward spiral. It's hard to do real-time resilience when people are laughing in your face and you're trying to positive self-talk to yourself. You have to get these things down first. But again, I'm available and I'm happy to talk to you. I'm going to stay here throughout the evening. I can have whatever conversations you want to have. I'm very active on social media, and I live local. I'm in Bellevue, and I'm happy to follow up with any of you that you might have any questions. Ma'am.
I think some of the most motivating things that a person can think of, I think one of the most motivating things I can think of today, being Martin Luther King's birthday, is I drove by the library and there was a huge poster that had Martin Luther King's picture and a quote by him that said, "The most penetrating question that all humans can ask themselves is, what have I done for another person today?" And I think Martin Luther King hits on purpose, motivation, character, purpose in life more than just about anybody else. And another quote I saw of his today is, "It's always the right time to do the right thing." And there's probably a lot of people in this room that have very inspiring and motivating and meaningful quotes of Martin Luther King as well as I do.
And I'll end on this. And you said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
We have one up there today as well. And I don't remember the quote, but we had one up there as rolling slides.
I did see that, right. So I'll end on this. She made a really good point. And so we talk about some of the really easy things that you can do, things like gratitude. If you're in a moment or even an extended period where you feel down, you feel depressed, you feel pressured, there's stress and there's adversity, the easiest thing that you can do and the quickest thing you can do to change your perspective is to go out and do something nice for somebody else and not expect anything in return. That is almost guaranteed to change your perspective. Again, psychology has shown if you just take the emphasis off yourself and go do something nice for somebody else. It could be as simple as holding a door, serving meals at a homeless shelter, or pay for the person behind me. Whatever that means to you, whatever the easy thing is to do for you, is take the emphasis off yourself for just a couple minutes and go do something nice for somebody else. It's magical, it really is, and it works every time. So I'll be here. Thank you very much for your time. Turn back over to Andy. Thank you.
All right, awesome.